Since childhood, Joy Mangano has been fascinated by making various inventions, but her half-sister Peggy believed that she needed a prince, not inventions. Joy's mother, Terry, divorced and spends whole days watching soap operas, paying little attention to her daughter. In the year 1990, Joy grew up, still supported by her grandmother while her mother continued to gaze at the television, ignoring her daughter. In high school, Joy invented a convenient collar, but Terry was too lazy to patent it, and now someone else is making big money on these collars. But that's trivial. What's more interesting is that Bartholomew returned as a ghost in the series. Unexpectedly, Joy's father, Rudy, also returned home. He got tired of his current lady, and he probably won't like living in the basement where Joy's ex-husband has settled. The old folks immediately started to quarrel, and Rudy even demolished a room. Joy has 2 children from the singer Tony, who hang out in the basement and don't work anywhere. He will have to share living space with a quarrelsome father-in-law. To prevent them from beating each other, Joy divided the space with toilet paper. Now Peggy mocks her sister, suggesting that she married unsuccessfully and had 2 children. Joy works at the airport, and she was just delighted that they assigned her night shifts. Peggy, on the other hand, works for her father, who has his own business. The older man seeks a new lady through a dating service. In front of his daughter, he arranged a meeting with a certain Trudy. In the evening, he planned to go on a date with her. After fixing a leak in the pipe in her mother's room, reading a book to her daughter, and dealing with all the relatives, Joy finally fell asleep. Jackie came to support her old friend, and together they mourned their childhood dreams. Joy met her future husband, who came from Venezuela as a student. She tells her new acquaintance that she would like to leave the city, but she needs to take care of her mother and help her father with the business. The man won her over because he was just as much of a dreamer as she was. Her father was completely dissatisfied with her choice and tried to dissuade her from the wedding right before the ceremony. During what seemed like a banquet, instead of wishing happiness to the newlyweds, he humiliated his ex-wives and sent regards to his current lover. Some time passed. Joy's daughter is standing in the kitchen, dirty, the son is crying, and her unsuccessful husband pretends to be sick to avoid going to work. The inevitable result: the spouses filed for divorce. Rudy and Trudy had a great time. The woman invited his entire family to her yacht but asked them not to bring red wine, as the deck was made of teak and she didn't want stains on the valuable wood. However, Tony brought red wine with him. During the swaying, the glasses slipped from hands and the entire deck was soaked with wine. Joy took care of the cleanup and cut her hands with a shard of glass. But she didn't care about the wounds. She muttered something barely audible. It seems like she got some idea. Joy refuses to go to bed to avoid nightmares, so her family drugged her with cough syrup. In her dream, she saw herself as a little girl. The girl blamed her for ruining her life. Upon waking up, Joy immediately told her ex-husband that it was time for him to move out. After all, they have been divorced for 2 years now. Her father needs to do the same, and she also asked him to talk to Trudy and convince the wealthy widow to invest in her new idea. After that, Joy went to her daughter's room and started working on the project, using colored pencils and a doll. At her father's workplace, Joy showed her sketches to Trudy and explained how her invention would work. But it's challenging for the woman to understand the merits of this strange mop. Joy asked one of her colleagues to make a metal handle. The mop's base is a 90-meter cotton thread, a couple of movements and it tightens, squeezing out excess water. Trudy still has doubts, so she asks Joy to answer a few more questions. Paige decided to throw a wrench in her sister's works. She also wanted Trudy's money for some project of hers, but she hadn't mentioned it before. After talking to the inventor, Trudy turned to her lawyer to conduct a patent search. It turned out that a guy from Hong Kong already had a patent for a similar invention. To protect herself, Trudy's lawyer advised Joy to pay a fee for using this patent. But not to the guy from Hong Kong, but to his representatives in Texas, Derek Markamp. His man Gerhard in California has his own factory where the necessary parts can be manufactured. After some time, the first parts for the mop arrived, made at this factory. A workshop for their assembly was arranged in her father's garage, but the first batch cost a whopping $15,000. All because they had to redo them 4 times at the factory due to mistakes. Joy refused to pay the additional costs and forbids others from doing so as well. It's time to sell. In the store, the seller refused to put the mop on display. The local businessman also declined and advised Joy to focus on her family instead. She and her daughter advertised the invention at the exit of Kmart, but no one cared about it. Then Jackie took the mop. Joy, as if passing by, became interested in the unusual device. The mop reaches all corners, and after cleaning the bathroom, you won't even need to touch a cloth. And most importantly, the mop head can be removed and machine washed. But suddenly, the police arrested the businesswoman and confiscated the mops. Additionally, the former lover's mistress reproached her for involving the child. The phone was disconnected due to non-payment, the son has a fever, and children tease her daughter, saying that her mother is a janitor selling old mops. The grandmother tries to cheer up the upset Joy. Then Tony came to her. He has an acquaintance in a larger company and will arrange a meeting for them. The grandmother notes that their relationship has improved significantly since the divorce. Two people and a mop wait for hours until Tony's acquaintances accept them. However, he never found time for them. Instead, a certain Neil Walker approached the company and immediately invited Joy to his office. The mop and her demonstration amused the businessmen. Walker decided to reveal who he is, and he is the manager of a new channel. Previously, he managed all the networks at Kmart stores. He determines which products will be in stores and, consequently, in customers' homes. And he selects these products very carefully. Her plastic mop looks cheap and strange. Joy confidently states that this mop is the best among what is in stores and asks to give her a chance. Now, Walker tasks her with making 50,000 mops by the next week. Todd, the #1 salesman in the TV store, is responsible for the advertising of the miracle mop. In the middle of the vast studio, there are 4 platforms that rotate depending on what is being sold. 2 super salesmen work on one of them. Oh my god, this decoration is selling for only $100. But right now, there is a special offer. You can get it for a meager $39.99. All phones and lines are busy. People are willing to wait in line to part with their dollars. Soon sales for one broadcast exceeded 20,000 units. One of the women was connected live. She is thrilled that this luxury came to her so cheaply. Now, all that remains is to persuade Trudy to invest an additional $200,000 in the business, but she refuses. She wants Joy to contribute half of that amount. The only way to get the money is to mortgage her house for the second time. The entire family gathered around the TV to watch the first Miracle Mop commercial. However, Todd didn't study the product at all and doesn't even know how to handle it. No calls followed, and the broadcast switched to evening dresses. This is a knockout for Joy and her loved ones. Walker immediately called. He said that the problem supposedly lies not with the seller, but with the product. He doesn't care that he told her to make 50,000 mops. She had to literally put everything on the line. Her father asks Joy to file for bankruptcy to avoid losing everything. An enraged woman bursts into Walker's office and demands that she be the one to advertise her product, even though it goes against the channel's rules. Walker doubts that Joy can work in front of the camera, but still gives her a chance. Stylists and makeup artists worked on her, but she immediately changed back into her own clothes. She wants to be herself. Joy is live on air. She is very scared, falls into a stupor, and says nonsense. However, there is already one call, a certain Joan from New York, but it's actually her friend Jackie, and she prompted Joy to tell the story of how she invented this mop. The inventor started talking and began to demonstrate the mop's ability to pick up debris on the floor. Dozens, hundreds of calls started coming into the studio. Walker was delighted. Sales stopped at 47,000. Joy can't believe her eyes. She invited Walker to meet her family and see the production process. Joy got into the swing of things. In one broadcast, 100,000 mops were sold, but the joy of this success was replaced by sorrow. Joy's grandmother died, a person who never doubted her for a second. At the funeral, Joy's father announces that there are problems with Gerhard. He's stirring up trouble. As a representative, without consulting, he sent Peggy to him. She agreed to increase the production cost by $2 and even gave away $20,000 that Joy supposedly owed. Joy says it's unacceptable. She'll be thrown under the bus. In response, Peggy admits that she and her father actually have their own plans. Now Joy needs to fly to California herself to sort things out with Gerhard. She sees her mop with the inscription, "Own Production." The German blames everything on his boss, Derek Markham, and feeds her the story that they produce parts almost at a loss. He even invited the foreman to confirm. Joy went to the restroom and discovered that it leads directly to the production area. She found the blueprints for her mop with the patent inscription, and all the forms were lying nearby. By this time, Gerhard had already called the cops. Joy was arrested for trespassing. Trudy posted bail and paid an additional $10,000 to the patent lawyer. It turned out that when paying royalties to Derek Markham, all the details and forms fell under his patent. It all came down to Trudy's lawyer, who advised paying these royalties. He turned out to be not competent enough. But all the woman can say is, "Such things happen. You were unlucky." Peggy finally ruined the case by paying these faulty bills. Joy can no longer supply the channel with unpatented goods. Meanwhile, her debt has already reached $500,000. She is again advised to declare herself bankrupt. Her father argues that his daughter is just a housewife who wanted to sell something to others before housewives. And Trudy sarcastically tells her that she lacks the necessary instincts and toughness for business. Joy has already lost her home. With a heavy heart, she signed bankruptcy papers. Crying, she says that there was no need to listen to her grandmother and believed that life could offer any opportunities. No, life only destroys you and your dreams. Under stress, Joy cut her hair and then started studying a huge stack of paperwork regarding patents. She arrived in Texas and met Derek Marcamp himself. He started the conversation with threats. Joy responds that she called Hong Kong today. It turned out that the owner of the patent on which Marcamp sat knows nothing about the hundreds of thousands of dollars that Joy's family paid as royalties, which means they are dealing with misappropriation of funds and fraud. But the most interesting thing is that, in fact, her mop has analogs in the world, and she shouldn't have paid a cent in principal. This is also fraud. The Texan was scared of going to jail and promised to return all the money and even more. Joy gave him a contract to sign, according to which he no longer claims the forms and blueprints. Ahead for the successful woman were hundreds more patents. She will buy a big house where the whole family will live. Rudy, Trudy, and Peggy will pay for the businesses. Even though they will fail, her father and Trudy will sue for ownership of her company, but her ex-husband and best friend will remain her devoted advisors. Now Joy herself hosts young inventors and gives them opportunities in life. Neil Walker also waited for his turn to meet her. They became competitors but remained friends.